Welcome to The Rundown, a GSPN podcast presented by Mighty Purple.
Alpha Day sports fans, and welcome to the very first podcast, The Rundown, right here on GuamSportsNetwork.com. And we have a special, we're glad to be teaming up with Mighty Purple, Mr. Roki Alcantara, here with us this afternoon. And for the first one ever, look at these studs. Zach Banner, Larry Ogunjobi, our NFL buddies, all the way from Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Welcome back to Guam, gentlemen. Are you guys excited to be here in the first ever podcast?
Super giddy.
Right?
History in the making right here.
Yeah.
Back in this 100 episodes later.
Right. 100%. Thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, it's been 2 years since you came to Guam, and glad you guys are back. Tell us everything, Zach, your mission and why you skipped last year.
Yeah, so, as in terms of like everything last year, it was my vow to make sure I come out once a year and do the work with the kids. And we were on a hot streak 2 years back to back. And then last year I had to make the decision myself for my own career. I wanted to prove to the coaches and everything. I didn't want to be on vacation and things like that. So it's all about the image of things. Even though I work hard in the off seasons, no matter where I am, it's still about the image. And so it worked out, right? I had a really good season, and now they're in negotiations for a contract right now. So we'll see how light or how extreme it'll be, but I'm excited.
Larry, 2 years, you met up when I picked you up at the airport the other day, and you're like, man, I couldn't wait to get back to Guam. You being very a quiet person and not talking too much, but, tell the island about how you really feel about how they embraced you 2 years ago and the excitement that you had coming back over.
Definitely. I feel like it was an amazing experience, back 2 years ago, just from the island, just accepting me and just showing me an amazing time. But coming back this year, just being able to get out with the kids, I think has been the highlight of my trip. I've been in Japan, for past out there for about 6 days, and then we, met up with Zach here. So it's been a really dope experience, especially just run out there with the kids and just to see how big the organization is getting as far as just the community work that they're doing and, the community out here, and just to see how they embrace both of us. And Jay loves Zach out here, and it's just awesome to see how kids run up to him and ask for pictures, and grown men run up to him and ask for pictures. So it's definitely cool to see, and just to be able to give back to an island that has given so much to him is very important. So it's very dope to be out here.
They love you too, bro.
Yeah,
oh, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So again, we're here talking about the B3 Foundation. It was a foundation that you thought of, Zach, since you were in college, really, giving back to the three communities, Guam, Tacoma, and LA. So far, after a couple of years, how do you feel that foundation has been and the growth? And you even brought two of your backbones of the foundation here.
So I have my entire team here, the board of directors, Sarah Bergstrom, my vice president, and also my best friend Daniel, who is also a treasurer. They make my life a lot easier. And they run the show, man. The behind the scenes, they work their tails off and everything. So bringing together, building together, and better together. That's our motto. That's the 3 B's. And obviously, as you said, Tacoma, Guam, and Los Angeles, are the 3 locations that we focus on. I feel like, there's so many athletes, entertainers, and people who have platforms around the world. If we were all to give a specific location, which mostly that's what they do, then we're going to cover the entire world with greatness. So I feel like it's my responsibility for those 3 locations, especially Guam, being the first Chamorro drafted and everything like that. I take a lot of pride in that. And my entire family lives out here and still out here. And, to be able to bring that pride to them and the rest of the people on the island, I accept that responsibility. So I whatever it costs, I don't take it lightly.
How do you feel about Larry's love for the island? I mean, usually, people say they'll be back and they'll be back. Here's a guy who really wanted to come back.
Yeah.
Talk about your friendship with him and what it means for him to continue to help you in the foundation.
It's a telltale of our friendship and, the bond and the strength of this relationship that we have. You know what I mean? To be able to, the last time I saw him was during the season, and before that was Guam. Really? Like, you know what I mean? But we act like we've been around each other, and we text and we keep communication and stuff, and we're both on the same mission. So it's very, very, so it's honestly just amazing, man, that he, like, the time that he takes out of, you know what I mean? He's here for a week, basically. The travel time, 17 hours, give or take, total, you know, the money, all the just all the little things. There's no hesitation. And I love that about him. Like, he doesn't want to be here because I told him to. I asked him to, and he didn't even hesitate. He wants to be here. And, you know, he's my guy. I appreciate him. The effort and the passion that he has with the kids and everybody on the island. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't say no to anybody. It's a very similar personality trait that I have. And he's awesome.
Larry, we talked about a couple of nights ago about your connection to Guam, even though this is your second time, and you said that it's like no place where you've ever been. Can you explain a little bit more to our listeners and our viewers of what you mean by that?
I'll just say, I guess the first time I came here, we got the snahis and everything. It just really made me feel like damn, I'm a part of the culture and what they have going on here. And like I said, it just really embraced me and made me feel like family. So it definitely made me want to come back without hesitation, like Zach said, just to be able to come out here and just to see the kids, man, those smiles are priceless. You know what I'm saying? To see those kids and talk to those kids about just going out and being able to do it. A lot of times, we talk about being able to get scouted on the island, recruited on the island, getting off the island to play, collegiate sports and things of that nature. So a lot of these kids sometimes feel like, damn, like they might not be able to see me out here, but I mean, we're the example. You know what I'm saying? Like you can work hard, you can grind each and every day, you can make your dreams a reality if you go out there and do it. So I think that's the biggest message that we're trying to tell these kids right now is that you're good enough. You can be good enough and you will be good enough, but you have to go out there and, make those steps and make those choices. So we want to be that example, and we are being that example. So I think the biggest message that we could possibly give the children and the listeners is just to keep pushing.
So I know this foundation giving back into the kids, I mean, that's ultimately a goal too I set for myself, as an athlete and a fan of sports, is like you said, just keep pushing. Now my thing is, so when the kids start to lose passion on stuff they were passionate about before, like what steps do you take in that situation? Like how do you get these kids back on focus? And obviously there's a lot of distractions these days. There's a lot of other opportunities and other options for these kids to take. And sometimes here on the island we have small contingency of sports communities. Like we don't want to see any of it die.
Yes.
So it's like, how do we get the kids back and focus in that passion in regaining the sport back, basically?
I'd say the biggest thing is that, something I always tell myself is that you're not always going to be motivated, but you always got to be disciplined. You know what I'm saying? So you have to tell these kids that it's not always going to be easy. You're not always going to want to go out there and play. Like we live in a generation where everybody wants to be on their phones or in their house playing the game. Not too many kids are thinking about going outside and playing sports, but that's where, we come into play. We make it fun. You got to make things fun to make people active again. So like I said, you're not always going to be motivated, but you got to be disciplined. So you just got to really instill in those kids that if you're serious about your goals, if you're serious about what you're talking about, whether it's a young kid who's JV wanting to be a starter on varsity, whether it's a starter on varsity who wants to get a college scholarship, like it's the same thing. You have to just be disciplined enough to work out, to say no to those extracurriculars and really focus on what you got to do. And I feel like when you instill those in those kids, then they'll look up and they'll be where
a sense of importance,
exactly,
and
for sure,
a sense of drive and commitment. I guess setting the example too, like you said, being the example and being the role model to these kids, showing them that even you too have the passion. Definitely. And you can possibly instill it in them too. So I appreciate that.
What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I just to backpack off what he said, it's one of those things that we talk about, like when they ask, but really, just to, obviously we're on camera and the podcast, just to say it blunt, like what he said, like if you want that, then you have to work for it. The bottom line, I was just always addicted to, like, it was just normal. The grind is normal, like, and it's the same thing for him. Like it's
common.
Like going to the gym, getting our cardio in and getting what we need to get done. That's automatic. Like, it's just done. Like when I was in school, you know, we want to keep, not everybody's professional athletes, so it's not, that's what we worry about now, and our business is on the side. But, you know, when I was in school, like going to class, getting it done, like I wasn't worried about getting in trouble with the law. I was actually worried about getting in trouble with my parents, you know what I mean? And having missing assignments. If you don't have that type of mentality, then you're thinking wrong. Especially on the island, you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, everybody goes through their own trials and tribulations. But if you look at, and the hard thing is when you're on the island is to, you know, convince about the big spectrum and how big the world actually is. And it's hard for people to get off. I know, and it's expensive. I can tell you that. So I understand about that. But when they think that right now, that's like whatever it is on their phone, like Larry said, or that, you know, that's from a social aspect, you know, like minimize that. It's not that serious. Like if your goals and your dreams are much more serious than your high school drama or your middle school drama, or even, you know, grown adults like who are grinding to better themselves. Whatever those little, you know, you can seek comfort by saying, well, woe is me, but woe is me is part of the grind. There's always ups and downs about it. And honestly, if you want it, then you need to go get it.
Speaking of the grind, the off-season grind, this off-season is a little bit different than previous off-seasons, especially for Larry, going into what could possibly be some big-time money for you guys, right? Mentally, how does that affect your preparation and going into what they call, you know, that contract season?
I think it's kind of give or take based on your mentality and how you kind of look at things. But for me, it was the biggest thing was that I've always been a person that, you know, works hard and tries to dedicate myself, does dedicate myself to my work and my craft. But this year, I started training early every year, but this year was a little different just because, you know, I'm training in Miami right now with Olivier Vernon. And I mean, it's been awesome. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times you go through this grind, you get to like contract season and people start to kind of tense up, but really it's just you're on that foundation. You know what I'm saying? Like I've laid these foundations since my rookie year. You know what I'm saying? So now it's just continue to get faster, continue to get stronger, continue to just master my technique. Nothing really changes. You know what I'm saying? Like some of the guys who kind of been going with the flow for, you know, their first 3 years, now you want to turn it on right now. That's not how it works. Like this is a grind, this is dedication, this is a trial. You know what I'm saying? You got to take your time through this. You can't just automatically just turn it on. It doesn't work like that. So for me, it was just continue to stack those days on those days and years on years and just continue to get better each and every season. So for me, going to this off season, like understand that, I could get extended. Yeah, this is contract season or hit free agency after this season. I think the biggest thing was just really just trying to better myself because I have goals that are so big that's part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like when your goals are very big, like all the other things take care of themselves. Like if you want to be an all-pro, if you want to be Pro Bowl, Defensive Player of the Year, like if you want to do all those things, then like the money, that will come. You know what I'm saying? Like all those other things would come. Like for Zach, if you want to be the best offensive tackle in the league, like if you want to be a Pro Bowler, all-pro, like, but you want to make big money, like those things all couple together, but you have to take care of the main thing first, and that's getting stronger, perfecting your technique, mastering your craft, you know, going to OTAs, dominating like each and every phase of what you got to do, not only on the football field, but like in the film room. Like there's just so many pieces that go together where it's not just like, damn, now it's contract year, now I got to go and turn, like, nah, like you have to lay this foundation because like everything you've gone through is preparing you for what you asked for. You know what I'm saying? So if you haven't been through nothing, then what's on the other side won't be, you know, worth anything. But if you've gone through something, like you've gone through trials and tribulations and you've put the work in, like on the other side, there is going to be a reward, but you just have to be willing to keep pushing towards it. So I think that's the biggest thing for me is just that I just have to continue to grind. And, you know, I'm out here, but I'm very disciplined. Like I was saying earlier, like you ain't gonna always be motivated, but you gotta be disciplined. So
Straight up.
I found ways to work out here at Paradise. There's one by the barbershop that we went to. I can't remember the exact name. Yeah, that one. Like just finding ways to stay on your routine, stay doing what you gotta do that way. Like even if I'm in a whole different country, I'm still, you know, like getting my work done. I'm still grinding. Like when I was in Japan, I was doing the same thing. So I feel like the biggest thing is just, you know, you stay disciplined. I feel like everything will take care of itself.
Zach.
How I strategize my off season is just honestly, you need to get out of my brain because you're literally saying similar stuff. I'm just rewording it. How I strategize my off season, like you said, I get better. So, but the grind is never different. Like it's other people will make it big, right? It's your job as media to do that. Contract year, whatever. I just see it as like another like opportunity, like Larry said. Exactly what he said. I feel like I'm repeating you. Like that Pro Bowl, that best tackle in the league, that dream and idolization, like that's that end thing. I want to get there and make that automatic. I want to be that every single year. So something like this, like in the most humble way as possible, it's just not that big of a deal because it's you have to, like, if you overhype it, like you said, like, and you turn it up, when you get it, you're going to turn it down. And that's how you see so many people who get paid and they just coast. And then they tarnish their legacy and they tarnish we don't want to be like that. You know what I mean? And it's just, when you want to be that consistent guy and then retire later and then call it, you know what I mean? And then figure out that next stage of your life, that's one thing. But if you're turning it up and turning it down every single year, you'll be the most inconsistent player in the NFL.
Speaking of turning it up, man, that tackle eligible thing just took off. Like,
yeah.
Did you expect that thing to?
No, I didn't. You can't expect it. It's a compliment to the Pittsburgh fan base. Very, very similar to the USC fan base. So it doesn't really surprise me when it happens. Like I said, try to say that I sound big-headed, right? Like it doesn't surprise me when people cheer. It just doesn't surprise me that, I mean, dude, like I kicked tail this year. So they respect that. You know what I mean? Like and they saw the work, and I have really good relationships with people in Pittsburgh. I have, the fan base is awesome. I talk to people and, do autographs, sign autographs and take pictures.
That's where it starts, dude. Like, you show
part of the
them
community.
You show them that, you even though you're, a professional athlete, you still got time for the average people that, just want to say hi.
But that's the thing though. Like you can't look at them like the average person. They're a person. I'm not trying to correct you, but it's the truth. That's how I see it. Like people are people. You know what I mean? Like in terms of athletics, yes. But in human beings, I appreciate their support. So the bottom line is I put stuff on tape. I bought in and they bought in too. So now I have a legit fan base in the NFL. And if that's with another team in the future, because we all have to be honest, like in about a couple of weeks, if there's nothing ding, then I'm going to hit free agency. So with all that being said, you have to be ready to make business choices. I'm just not going to change who I am.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
I mean, for Guam, right, the main fan base, and you guys have heard it, is 49ers have the most fan base here in Guam, followed by probably the Steelers and Cowboys, right? But to hell with the Cowboys, right? So the Steelers, they got Zach. And I heard a petition for the 49er fan base to try and get Larry to sign with the Niners. Man, wouldn't you look great in that red and gold, man? What do you think? Playing next to Nick Bosa?
Bay Area.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
One of those on the spot.
Come on, Larry, give it to me, man.
He just zoomed in. I'm not even here anymore. They just zoomed the camera in and put you on the spot.
You can give the politically correct answer. Go ahead.
Next question.
That's it. That's it right there. Yeah,
We'll talk
no
more
comment.
Yeah. Hey, but thanks a lot, guys. Just taking it, closing up shop here with the B3 Foundation. We did the kids yesterday, the coaches for tomorrow, and then we're gonna great auction opportunity for all the Steeler fans on Guam. Zach's brought a whole bunch of stuff from the team to try and raise money for the B3 Foundation with autographed jerseys and gloves and cleats and all kinds of stuff. It's at Papa's Tuesday night from 6 to 9. Come on out. It's open to the public. Some silent auction, and then also you can also have a raffle basket with a lot of goodies in there too. That's only $20 per ticket. So come on out, support Zach. The dude comes out on his own, brings out Larry. It's just something that's been great for our island, and these guys are really taking their time out of their busy schedules on the off season to come out and enjoy. It's a little bit that we can do and give back to these young gentlemen, these young professionals. One with Chamorro roots, and one that's Like planting
About there.
roots.
Adopted
down.
tomorrow. Adopted tomorrow.
All about planting.
That's right. So, anything else, gentlemen? Then before we take a break, and we're going to come back with the Guam national basketball head coach EJ Cavill and the team captain Willie Stinnett to talk about their last go around against the New Zealand team and the plans for Team Guam with that. So, any last thoughts, gentlemen, before we close up shop here?
On behalf of us, thank you guys for having us on the island. That's honestly, this is home for me, so I really don't need permission, but I appreciate this guy coming out, and I appreciate all the support and hope for continued support. We have things like our annual, we're making it annual. Last year was the first year we had our backpack drive, 300 backpacks given out. And, just continue to do things. We have more school visits and stuff this week. So the community service is awesome. So we appreciate your support, and we appreciate your future support. So anything, go to b3foundation.com, and you can donate at any time and keep up to date with stuff that we're doing with the community. So thank you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. So on behalf of Zach and Larry, we'll take a quick break and a quick shout out. Every podcast, I'm going to be giving out a shout out of what I wear, my t-shirt. This one goes to Bellator, my good friends Rich Chow and Hoyce Gracie, Mike Kogan. Quick shout out to the folks over at Bellator. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Robbie Balahadra will be in the hot seat, and he'll be talking to Coach EJ Cavill and Willie Stinnett. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Rundown, a GSPN podcast presented by Mighty Purple.
And welcome back to the podcast. We just visited Zach and Larry, but now we have the national team members, head coach EJ Cavill with us, and the captain for Team Guam, Willie Stinnett, here joining us on our first ever inaugural podcast. And as always, Roki Alcantara from Mighty Purple. We're here. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks.
We obviously wanted to talk about basketball. We just played the biggest basketball game. I had the biggest basketball game on Guam ever last weekend. I wanted to talk about that. But thank you for joining us on our first ever podcast, Will and Coach EJ.
Half a day, yes.
Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Sorry, let's dive straight into it. The game was a huge game. I've never seen a Guam basketball crowd as big as that one. I was reporting, working, but I was also there as a fan, and it was quite an experience from my point of view. For you guys, I know you guys have been playing national level talent, high level talent overseas, but what was that reception like for you guys? Because I'm sure it had to feel different knowing that, and just the experience overall, knowing that all the cheers and stuff are
Home
primarily
crowd.
for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a rough week, obviously, with all the changes that occurred, not knowing whether we're going to play Hong Kong or not, but at the same time preparing for months, scouting Hong Kong and New Zealand and trying to prepare the field house for a game of that caliber. And just a lot of stress on our organization, and then the players doing their best to prepare. Some of them were battling through injuries and just trying to get ready for the competition. I think the energy in the field house really lifted everyone up after just a week of hard work, and you knew adrenaline was going to take you through the game, but it was just really a sense of pride playing in front of our home crowd for the first time.
Well, I know you've been playing, like I said, national level talent elsewhere, but how were the nerves, man? Because once you stepped on that court and you got that home crowd reception going on, how different of a feeling was that for you and the guys on the team?
The fans were great. The vibe was real good. The energy was amazing, and it was an honor for everybody. I know all the teammates, everybody that was out there to play in front of Guam, and it's kind of sad that we don't have it more often, but I'm glad that, the support was amazing. Once you get out there, once the ball is inbound, you don't focus in on the crowd, but when a basket does go in, or, during like a timeout or something that's happening, then you kind of notice the crowd. So during the game, you're kind of into the game, but when there's a pause, you kind of look up and you're like, man, the support was awesome.
Rogue, you were there as well on behalf of Mighty Purple. Just from your standpoint, it was pretty crazy. Where I was in the thick of it all, in the fans.
Sure.
From your corner, just how did you view that whole?
I mean, I think it was max capacity, I would say. I mean, I didn't see too many empty benches except for where the media was probably, but we were fortunately, and I thank you guys for allowing us to set up shop up there, and we were able to refuel some of the fans that were there yelling and cheering with some of this mighty Acai. So we were able to sell out before the game even started. So with that being said, I mean, the crowd came out. They came out in numbers to support our home team for sure.
Yeah, Will, you were sharing with us prior to that your son actually was a big fan of the Mighty Purple truck that was there and serving.
Yep.
So.
Asked him what the best part about the game was, and he's like, "Hey, when I went to get the acai." I was like, perfect, son. Good job.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, back to basketball. Obviously it was well reported what happened, the score and all that. But the flow of the game, a lot of the times, we get caught up on what's I guess happening on the court that at some point we didn't realize how badly Ty Wesley was hurt. But then when he walked off the court, we never saw him again. For your guys' standpoint, if you can just give us an update on how Ty's doing right now, and just how impactful that moment was for you guys, because he was Will, you said prior that you consider him the best player on Team Guam. Just talk to us on a standpoint, on a coaching standpoint and a player standpoint, how that truly impacted the game.
Start out the game even before Ty. I think Darren Hitchinova picking up a couple quick fouls already threw us off our rotation. That's we don't make excuses. We'll take on any obstacle. So a lot of our players were ready to step in and fill any role that we needed at the time. So we battled through a first quarter. We were still feeling like we were getting our momentum going, even with the small lead in the first quarter. But I think by the time we got into the second and Ty gave me the look that his calf was strained and he needed to go work on it. That's all I had known at that time. We have some great physical therapists, and so they went to the back room. At that point, Ty's a warrior. In our experience playing in the Pacific Games together, and coaching him in the Pacific Games, he's had minor injuries and he's always battled through them and maybe adjusted his game. So I think the expectation is that he would be back, and he just needed to maybe work on a strain or work that muscle out. So the second quarter, we lost the lead obviously, and started to struggle a little bit offensively against that pressure defense. But we still very much felt in the game. We knew that we were one big run away from taking back the lead, and we had some momentum. But I already had my notes with the coaching staff for the halftime adjustments, because we saw that their transition game was just, as expected, really fast. That sounds very simple form. They take that ball out, whether it's a make, miss, or even out of bounds, and they run. And we needed to get transition taken care of. And I felt like first and foremost, if we take care of it on the defensive end, we'll be back in the game. And then we go into halftime, and Ty's working on the bike and basically trying to push off that calf muscle, and he gives us that look that I don't believe I'm going to be able to go anymore and be effective. And we looked at each other and we said, next man up. And at that time, we weren't going to think too much about it. We just believed in ourselves that we were going to, give it our all and come out in the third quarter. And I thought the guys did. The experience of New Zealand eventually was just too much, and they continued to execute against us. But our main goal, and I told the guys this from day one, is that we're going to have fun. We're going to play hard, and we're not going to stop playing hard until 40 minutes are up. And at the end of the game, we're going to leave it on the court, and then we can come back and see what we need to work on. And that I feel we accomplished. That's probably for the reason why everyone had a good time, because we didn't want to let down. It's a very good team we were playing against, and we learned a lot from that game. In spite of again Hitchinova picking up a few more fouls and limiting his play, and losing Ty, I think everyone else really stepped up and represented well. So that's kind of my take. Yeah.
Just if you can elaborate, just the spirit of the team, like when someone like Ty's caliber goes down, how did that affect you guys emotionally? Because you guys looked to bounce back. I mean, you guys looked strong towards the end, but I'm pretty sure that had to sway you guys in some type of way when he went down.
Emotionally, I think everybody, to get to this level, you're confident, you think you can step up, but Ty's just a different breed. Like I said, a best player. He's composed. At that 4 spot, he could relieve the pressure for the guards, kind of bring up the ball, and you give it to him in the post, and he gets 2 buckets. And I think that's what we lacked a little bit of in stretches, and 2 bad turnovers, kind of it makes a tight game kind of out of contention, and a couple more bad shots, a couple more bad turnovers. But it was a big loss. Not a lot of people noticed it because I think everybody was just caught up in the game, and it was fun, and it was kind of back and forth, and we always kind of seemed we had a shot, but just not for me, like not having Ty in there, just the composure, being able to get an automatic 2 or a really good shot was tough to play the whole game without. We have a couple of young bucks that are still trying to pick up from where where Ty is. So our best pro kind of going down really hurt us, and they was just unfortunate, and something that we have to learn from and just get better from.
Well, just like any sport, I believe you have one of your main contributors go down. I mean, the outcome of the game is gonna change, whether it's dramatically, or closely, whatever. But yeah, we're really sad to see him go down because you guys did prepare long for this and hard work and everything. Yes, these guys came off a plane to come here, so a lot of sacrifice, a lot of time, and we commend them, for doing that and being here to represent. And I know for a fact, as an athlete, and you guys can say the same, that when you go down, with all that adrenaline pumping, you just want to get back out there regardless of how bad you're feeling. So I know for sure he felt really uneasy just having to tell you, coach, that he wasn't able to go.
Yeah. Especially he has some personal experience against these New Zealand players, right. And he knew he can bring a lot more. He's been the one talking up our potential to our team and helping build confidence. But the thing is, I always tell the guys, what does Mike Tyson say? Everyone has a game plan until you get punched in the mouth. And we took some pretty big punches, in terms of not being able to stick to our rotation and our game plan. And so we look at each other at that moment and say, okay, here's our test. The character of this team needs to be strong, and we need to just keep playing hard. And if we make mistakes, just keep going, and we'll figure it out. And if we don't figure out in time, let's take this experience and prepare for the next time. Yeah.
In the post-game press conference, we did interview the New Zealand coach, and I did ask him, just, hey, this was Guam's biggest basketball game, and the first really of this caliber in a tournament like this. I just asked, hey, what's your biggest takeaway from just seeing Guam? And even he admitted to it, and we're eventually going to allude to it, is the fact that he considered that was a rough first game for you guys to have to play, especially in this type of environment, this type of caliber. But he was very impressed. He had a lot of good things to say about you guys. He didn't want to hype you guys up too much because you guys are playing again. But he did say that it was a pretty tough game for you guys to play this game first, as opposed to what we were originally supposed to play. You guys were supposed to play Hong Kong first, and he said that would have been a really good tune-up for you guys to prepare you for New Zealand. And I just if you can just elaborate on just how that was. I mean, I know you worked tirelessly to try and get that game to still go, but it didn't happen. When it officially became set in stone that you guys weren't going to play Hong Kong, how quickly did you guys have to just rotate and just be like, all right, New Zealand?
Well, the coaches were preparing for both teams, and we had scouting reports and game plans for both games. I think there's some positives to that game being canceled, and that we got some more time on the court to work with each other. But you just can't replace live reps and going full speed, and that's something that is one of the weaknesses we think in our program right now, is just getting the highest caliber talent and competition on the island more consistently. We are going to work hard to try to seek out that competition, even if it's off island. I think that's what we have to do if we are going to try to play at this level. And I think that's the big point here, is that we're not going to say that we're at all happy about how the game ended or the result of the game, but we got to remember we're just excited, really excited to be representing Guam at this level. And this is not just something that got handed to us overnight. This has been, you call it decades in work, you know, and I know a lot of our national programs are going through the same type of cycle. And just like our basketball program, you know, decades ago, we looked at what could be our path to play at a higher level. The first goal, of course, is winning that Pacific Games gold and being considered the best in the Pacific. And once we got that and the doors started opening up, we looked at each other and said, okay, how are we going to really harness this opportunity and get better? And we know that it's not just going to be a one-time deal. We want to train that next generation, because this is hopefully just the beginning. And then we got our second Pacific Games gold medal, and we really feel like momentum is coming. So regardless of that first game, it's more so, I think that this is kind of how we started this discussion, that the energy we felt in that first game is just by far the most important thing to me, because it's just the beginning of building up momentum for the future. And we have 2 more games coming up real soon to be hosted here on Guam, against Hong Kong and then against Australia. And we're excited to get on the court again. And then what comes next after that, you know, we'll just see what comes.
Will, I know this. You said that this in the interview you did prior to the game. You said this is the best basketball team Guam has ever seen. And with that, I mean, I know the talent level is there, but you know, just can you speak on how difficult it is to be able to develop the chemistry without actually playing as much as you guys would? Because, you know, you guys are challenging national teams who are pulling from the same country that I'm pretty sure get a lot of practice time together to prepare for events like this. And you guys are pulled from a lot of different areas and have, you know, realistically like a week or so to get that on-court chemistry. As a player, like, what is the biggest difficulties of that? And just how do you feel like you guys, how quickly did you guys feel you guys adapted to that chemistry?
The chemistry was, you know, the vibe was good with everybody. Everybody gets along. Practice, you know, just running through plays. It's totally different from when you actually get on a game and you go live reps against another team that doesn't know what you're doing. So Hong Kong really not playing that first game and catching New Zealand on their second game. Maybe if it was both of our first games, it would be different. But we watched film of the 2 days before New Zealand did play Australia. They played not nearly as well as they did against us. So, you know, just that one game that they played, their bigs played a lot better. They were, you know, hitting. They were more comfortable playing with each other. And it was just kind of tough luck for us not to be able to get that one game to get the little turnovers. We had a few silly turnovers that were just kind of like the first game jitters, not being able to read each other. Yeah, timing, and that's maybe 8 points right there that you just lost on like timing issues. So it's tough. Hopefully, I mean, and we'll learn. And something you don't want to do is to go live against each other and someone gets injured before a big game. So it's a juggling act that's hard to do. But as a program coming in, we did well, respectable, and build on it, and hopefully, you know, avenge that loss to New Zealand.
The reception on Guam prior to, during game, and post game, I'm pretty sure, you know, we did our thing here on Guam. We always do what we do. We celebrate our guys, and we very much did so. You know, but it's not over. This is the first game of 8, so we still have a lot of basketball left to be played. That's just game 1. We wanted to sit these guys down because, like, we have been hyping it up, and the fact of the matter is that was the biggest basketball game caliber played on Guam. So we wanted to get, you know, a little deeper inside from Coach EJ and Coach Will. So we're gonna head before we close out the segment, really quickly, you guys want to just give us a forecast about what's up next? I mean, I know it's the Hong Kong game. We're not sure, but then we do know that at the end of the year, you guys are going to be playing Australia and some big names. So if you just want to give us a quick forecast on what is coming up for Guam basketball.
Well, we're negotiating, or I guess. It's not much of a negotiation. We're waiting for FIBA to talk to us about rescheduling the Hong Kong game. There were a few other rescheduled games or postponed games in the region including the Philippines and Thailand, I believe, and then China and Japan. So I believe that all those games will be rescheduled to be at the same time again for, I guess, media sake. And so hopefully we get that date soon and we can prepare for it. And then when it comes to November 27th, we will host Australia here on Guam. And then a few days after that, we'll play the second Hong Kong game. So, which I guess is depending on where we play the first Hong Kong game coming soon. And then early 2021, we will fly down to New Zealand and Australia to play away games against those two teams. And that's the first round of games that will determine whether we advance. We feel we have a good shot against Hong Kong, and we have to at least not be last place in order to advance and keep this ride going. But what's exciting for us is winning the gold medal in 2019 already qualified us for the next round of pre-qualifiers. So, I mean, that's the big thing we're really trying to stay focused on is, although we have veterans who are focused on doing the best they can do right now, we have to build a program here on Guam that really inspires the youth and gets more kids to play off island in college, professionally, and just push them to really go as far as they can in the sport so that we can be ready to continue these exciting sports events, hosting big time basketball games on Guam.
Yeah, tell you what, man, the fans are going to be excited come, November 27th, or hopefully we get that rescheduled Hong Kong game prior to, but just seeing the first, the first game against New Zealand, I mean, I'm pretty sure the next couple games coming up, the fans are going to come out even stronger, more in numbers. So, good luck to you guys, Coach and Will, on that.
Yeah, I've personally never been to an NBA basketball game, but the atmosphere was
probably the closest we get.
Yeah,
here.
I mean, I had to take my reporting hat off for a bit and just cheer on our boys because that was pretty exciting. I've never, like I said, never been to a basketball game, but Will, there is a lot of time between now and the next time you guys are going to actually hit the court to play basketball. Presumably that your next game isn't until November. Just really quickly, how are you guys and Team Guam going to be staying, in the flow of things to make sure that come November it's not just wake up and play basketball time?
I mean, I think after a big game like that, you get that energy. So I mean, as far as going to workouts and training, everybody will be more up to the task, and hopefully if we could bring teams over here and kind of play together here on island, that'll be a good idea. Or just meeting up with everybody else during the summer, just kind of get a run in. That'll be awesome. But we do need to kind of just rebuild that chemistry. It's easier when you're playing a lesser skilled teams just to go in there and kind of we'll figure it out. Yeah, fine tune it during the game, but against New Zealand, ranked 24th in the world.
Everyone's talented. Everyone's in shape. Now what, right?
So,
exactly.
Just do a little bit better job of that.
Awesome. Well, big things coming up for Guam basketball. They are far from finished at FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers. We still got a lot of basketball being played. This is not the last time you're going to hear from these guys. We're going to be hearing from them all year long. Thank you, Coach EJ. Thank you, Will, for stepping in on the podcast, our first episode, to really chime in and give the fans a little bit more detail about what happened. Because, like I said, from the fans, from the seating standpoint on the sidelines, that was just a great game to watch. But you guys were the ones out there putting it all on the floor. So it was great to get some insight.
Hey, Rob, can I plug that one of the other things Guam basketball is working on that's pretty exciting in the next couple of weeks? We are helping to organize postseason tournaments for the high school boys JV and high school boys varsity games to basically crown a national champion for Guam now that there's two separate leagues.
Right.
And so we're working with both leagues administratively, and the games will be at the UG Cavill Fieldhouse, and I think that'll be another great basketball experience for the young bucks to perform in front of their family and friends. And then at the same time, shortly after, we're putting together a middle school boys tournament, which will feature both public and private schools because their leagues aren't even at the same time. And so that's one of our goals, like I said, is just to get more good quality basketball competition on Guam, especially for the youth. And every chance we get, identify talent and help to nurture that talent and just keep bringing them up. And I know they're inspired by watching these guys
definitely.
Whenever they're going to perform on Guam.
That's a great plug, actually, because we're going to take a quick break to let these guys go ahead and wrap up. But when we do come back from that break, we are talking about that high school basketball ISA League, IIAAG. Well, it's kind of going down there because their playoffs are about to end. But like you said, it is a split league, but Guam basketball is doing their best to unify them once again. And overall champion will be crowned. Thank you for Guam basketball to help out and very political subject there, but you guys are bringing them together. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast again. We'll be right back. We're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna wrap it up and close off with some high school talk and what's coming up next. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
You're listening to The Rundown, a GSPN podcast presented by Mighty Purple.
Welcome back to the Rundown podcast. I'm Robert Balahadja.
I'm Brandon Kinsella.
Joined by Brandon Kinsella, our fellow reporter, our young freelance reporter here. We're here to talk about the last segment of the show. We had a really big opening for the podcast. We had Zach and Larry on, which was huge, followed by Coach EJ Calvo and Will Snett. I appreciate all of the guests for joining us on our inaugural podcast. And Brandon and I here just to close out the last segment. We're going to talk about high school sports. The playoffs are coming up. Just what I guess the next couple of weeks have to offer. But let's start with the playoffs. Brandon, it's been a little weird because the IIAAG and ISA have separate leagues. So this is the first time that we had I guess the only sport that was really affected by the whole split was basketball, because basketball has their own league, the ISA has their own league, and the games that they've been playing, we've been seeing teams rerun each other more often than we're used to, and that's only gonna play out the same way for playoffs, because playoffs start for IIAAG on Tuesday. And then the championship game is on Friday already. The top two teams have been FD and St. Paul of the IIAAG.
So they're not going to get as much time to prepare for the championship game in the event that they do get there, right?
Sort of. It's more of like they're playing the same schools for the third time this season, which is, you played sports, obviously in high school. You were, just how does it feel any weird? How would you feel if you had to set up a playoff run, knowing that you weren't going to face anyone other than Harvest, Guam High, and St. Paul?
I mean, it would feel kind of weird, especially because how high of a caliber the other teams in the league are. Not to discredit any of the other teams, but just seeing other teams play and knowing who's on those teams and the type of talent that they have. I think that it kind of gets a little repetitive if you're playing the same teams, and it's. But EJ did talk about how Guam basketball is planning to do crown a national champion on island, which might be a little controversial, but I think it's a good thing,
So to elaborate on what Coach EJ was saying earlier. So what's going to happen is that the IIAAG is going to have their champion, the ISA is going to have their champion, but then I don't know how much I don't know how big of an accomplishment either of those teams are going to feel, because the winner of those are all undoubtedly going to want to compete against each other. So the private and public schools are going to want to compete against each other. And Guam basketball, as Coach EJ said, they're going to host a tournament where they're going to include all the schools to try and crown a national champion. So, I mean, I'm knowing Coach Eddie, knowing the coaches that we do know, knowing Coach Neo, the trophy that they win Friday, because the IIAAG basketball championship is next week Friday at UOG at 7:00. Knowing them, they're not going to celebrate that trophy as much as I think they would if it was the national title trophy. I mean, I'm sure holding any type of hardware is going to be big for your program, but knowing these guys, I highly doubt that game is going to be particularly the one that they celebrate. I'm pretty sure that once that game's over, they're going to be looking forward to the national, when they get to play the public schools. And for the public school side, their playoffs are also beginning next week for basketball too. So we're going to crown two champions next week. At the end of at episode 2 podcast, we will bring you an update on all that stuff. Girls softball is in double elimination. That playoffs has seemingly been unaffected by the split between ISA, IIAAG. It looks like the IIAAG, it doesn't look like, because they actually did. What happened was the IIAAG teams went to ISA and then just played under the same umbrella for the whole season. And then now they're in the double elimination playoffs. So we got playoff softball going on up until the end of March. So keep tabs on that. There's going to be a lot of softball being played. Rugby, their final regular season week was last week. So that's wrapping up, and that is going to play out, I believe, in another couple weekends. We're going to have the cup and bowl games for rugby. As always, our rugby photos, we appreciate you guys. Instagram, you guys are liking the living stuff out of our Instagram photos. Shout out Michael Blas, our camera guy behind the scenes. He's the one taking all those excellent photos that you guys love so much. Keep liking it. And, thank you so much for that. Tennis All Island's also going to be coming up this week. We're going to be hitting all those things. And beach volleyball, the first inaugural season is going to resume on March 10th because there is a one-star F5 VA tournament coming this weekend, I believe. Yeah. So this weekend they're having that one-star tournament that is going to take over, I believe it's Jimmy D's. Yes, it's at Jimmy D's Beach. So there's going to be beach volleyball. And a lot of the girls that are playing in the season are playing in that tournament. So they postponed tournament play for beach volleyball up until March 10th. So we got a lot of high school stuff coming to wrap up the end of March before we jump into fourth quarter. And Brandon, if you want to go ahead and just take us really quickly, website, we do want to give a plug to the website, GuamSportsNetwork.com. We are putting out stories every single day. That's where you can find articles written by Brandon and myself there, photos from Michael Blas and stuff. But Brandon, if you want to take a real quick look at what is trending on our GSPN website, and just let the people know what, at least for the past couple of weeks, what has been the biggest topics of GuamSportsNetwork.com.
Awesome. So the number one trending topic is Friars clinching the top seed in the IIAAG in their win against the St. Paul Warriors. That was a really packed house, and we heard, with the coach, the whole situation with the ref.
I'm sure everyone's seen a lot of those
everybody's
videos.
seen the social media posts circulating everywhere.
Yeah, we've seen that.
And also for the FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers, of course, EJ and Willie were here earlier talking a little bit about the game, but that's number 2 on the trending list. And
so that happened about a week ago. So these trending stories happen. They pick up every 2 weeks. So that story has been trending for the past almost 2 weeks. Everyone obviously corralling to try and see how Guam played against New Zealand. And, we talked about it earlier. The result has been well documented. We did fall to New Zealand, but that was a great game. You were there. We all experienced what kind of a great game that was. So definitely.
And next, the Geckos knocked the Cougars into the losers bracket in softball.
Yeah, that game was actually pretty insane because Academy had beat GW in their first meeting. I believe they beat them 9-8, and they had a 9-1 lead heading into the 6th inning, and then GW scored 7 runs to get really close and almost win. And then they played again in the playoffs, and then GW just unloaded on them. 17-3 was the final. Academy could never really develop a rhythm. GW rhythm off the bat. They look ready to go. So GW actually will be playing for a shot at the championship. If they win their next game, they secure a championship spot. And if they lose, that's okay. Double elimination. They get a chance to fight their way back to try and get to contention, and Southern beating Guam High over the weekend. That was a rescheduled game. So winner of that one will get an automatic bid to the championship game. We will have more coverage on that during the week. That game is going to be played during the week as well.
And then also for track, we have Regine Tugati. She's embracing her final year, breaking records and representing Guam pretty well.
Yeah, I had a really good phone conversation with Regine. She broke a set a school record in the 200 meters. She already held the 60 meters. She broke the 200 meters a year ago. And then a freshman, she said, on her team beat her record while she set the 60 meter record. So she was very determined this year to reclaim that record. And she's also determined to lower her outside door 100 meter record. So Regine, doing big things. Queen Regine, the queen of speed. I like to call her Regine. She's the fastest female in the Marianas, as seen in the micro games a couple of years ago, where she just completely dominated that scene. So Regine, stay tuned because she is still doing big things.
And lastly, Guam OCR athletes that shined at the Spartan race in the Philippines. I believe this was about a week ago. It was cool. Actually, Billy Navarrete, he came to Custom Fitness and was training a little bit. For those of you that don't know, Billy's actually a Ninja Warrior, Guam's a Ninja Warrior. And he went out and competed at the Spartan race. He did pretty well.
Yeah, you can find the photos in the recap. That was a press release sent in from Tom Akigami. He's the one that kind of hones in on all the I guess extreme races like that, the trench style races. So Guam athletes doing big things not only here on Guam, off island as well. That is our plug for the website. Go check it. That's just with the trending stories. We got a lot of info and stuff there for you guys to experience on the website. Please give GuamSportsNetwork.com a chance to or visit them for a chance to see what's going on around the island. And as far as what's happening next month, we are going to have championship games to talk about. MVPs are going to be crowned. MVP for softball has already been crowned. Laura Camacho of the Guam Panthers won that award. But as far as what's happening next month, champions, MVPs will definitely be crowned. And one more thing, a very important thing, MMA is coming back. Brandon, I know you did a feature story on this already, and I know you're very excited about this event. Brawl, March 13th. That's going to be another huge topic for us. Let us know what's going down on Brawl and what can we expect there.
Oh, yeah. So Brawl is taking place on March 13th at the Dusitani. The fight card's not finalized yet. Some of the promoters are trying to work some things out. But it's going to be a really exciting night. For those of you that have ever experienced Submit, it's going to be the same concept, but this time MMA. And having the opportunity to speak with Melker and Rocky Martinez, I just know they're without a doubt, they're going to put together an awesome event. And there's going to be some great fights to look out for there. I mean, the headliner right now is Joey Crisostomo versus Jerome Cruz. And they actually competed against each other at the Submit event I believe it was November. And I believe that could have been the fight of the night. The fight of the night ended up being a flying armbar, which was a pretty quick one, but Jerome actually ended up getting a takedown of the night. So it's going to be a really physical matchup. And yeah, that's one to look out for. Also, Brian Romero's making his MMA debut against Steel Athletics' Arian Scherer. And Brian's actually just caught the MMA bug fairly recently. And everybody that he's trained with, they're amazed at how quickly he's picking up the sport. And as for Arian, I know that guy, he has a lot of heart, and it's going to be a really physical matchup to look out for. So
yeah, Brian, a rugby player.
Yes.
So contact is not new to him.
Yes.
Yeah. So speaking of Joey Crisostomo, classmate of mine actually, 2008 graduate at FD, fellow classmate of mine. I didn't see MMA in his future. Not no throwing shade. I just was he caught the MMA bug as well. Maybe he was really into jiu-jitsu, and then. Caught the MMA bug maybe a few years ago and started really training there. So shout out to Joey Crisostomo. Yeah. And one more big shout out to Rocky Martinez because he just claimed a Risen victory over the weekend. A huge win. Cousin Rocky Martinez. We're related. I just like to plug that.
And that was an amazing fight, man. He put on quite the show. It's I actually also work at Custom Fitness, and he trains daily at Spike 22, has a mat there. So it's awesome to see all of his hard work, just transfer over to the ring. He had an awesome performance.
Awesome, yeah. And I'm done plugging in my friends and my relatives. We'll take exit on that one. But thank you so much for joining us in our very first inaugural episode of the podcast. That's going to wrap up this particular episode. But don't worry, we'll be back with more sports talk at the end of the month, every month. So follow us along on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and watch this video on YouTube. This video will also be up on the site eventually, so you can stay tuned to GuamSportsNetwork.com to catch all of this. For now, follow us on all of our social media accounts. We have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. But shout out to Mighty Purple for hosting us here. Rocky Alcantara, invested his place here for us to run the show, and we can't be more thankful for him for allowing us this platform. So thank you. Signing off on behalf of GSPN and Brandon Kinsella and Mighty Purple, I'm Robert Balahudja. Thanks for joining us. Podcast out.